Hello, it says I am live. I am going to trust that I am live. First of all, apologies. I am sick, but I needed to voice this. So, Alexei Navalny, sorry, I can't talk. A critic of Putin dies after losing consciousness at maximum security prison. The authorities say that Alexei felt unwell following a walk and lost consciousness at the Polar Wolf penal colony inside the Arctic Circle. But while the cause of death remains unknown, Western leaders have made clear they hold the Kremlin ultimately responsible. You don't say. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, a vocal critic of President Vladimir Putin, has died according to the country's prison service. The jailed dissident, who had campaigned against official corruption and led major anti-Kremlin protests, was 47 years of age. Putin, who is running for re-election in a month's time, has been informed of his death, according to the state news agency. While the cause of death remains unknown, Western leaders have made clear they hold the Russian regime ultimately responsible. The prison authorities said that Alexei felt unwell following a walk on Friday and lost consciousness at the Polar Wolf penal colony, about 1,200 miles northeast of Moscow and within the Arctic Circle. Efforts made by medical staff to revive him failed, according to the service. Mr. Navalny, who was serving a 19-year sentence on charges of extremism, was moved in December from his former prison in the Vladimir region of central Russia. His allies criticised the transfer to the maximum security facility in the town of Karp as yet another attempt to silence Alexei. The remote region is notorious for long and severe winters. Alexei had been behind bars since January 2021, when he returned to Moscow after recovering in Germany from nerve agent poisoning, which he blamed on the Kremlin. Speaking at a security conference in Munich, his wife said, quote, "For many years, we cannot trust Putin and the Putin government. They always lie. But if this is true, i.e. the way Alexei died, I want Putin and everyone around him to know that they will be held accountable for everything they did to our country, to my family, and that day will come very soon. I want to call on the international community and all people to unite and defeat this evil." Alexei's mother is reported to have written on Facebook, "I don't want to hear any condolences. We saw him in prison on February the 12th in a meeting. He was alive, happy and healthy." Nobel Peace Prize winner and campaigning journalist Dmitry Muratov, who is editor-in-chief of Russia's most famous independent newspaper, said, "My sincere belief is that it was the conditions of detention that led to Alexei's death. His sentence was supplemented by murder." The Ukrainian leader, Volodymyr Zelensky, said it is obvious that he was killed by Putin. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said his death in a Russian prison and the fixation and fear of one man only underscores the weakness and rot at the heart of the system that Putin has built. Russia is responsible for this. The UK's Foreign Secretary David Cameron said Putin's Russia imprisoned him, trumped up charges against him, poisoned him, sent him to an Arctic penal colony, and now he has tragically died. We should hold Putin accountable for this, and no one should be in any doubt about the dreadful nature of Putin's regime in Russia after what has just happened. This is still breaking news at the moment, so things are updating as and when. Apparently, Alexei's health had been deteriorating and he had been held in solitary confinement for much of the time since he was imprisoned after his return to Russia in January 2021. Alexei had been a moral voice for Russia from his prison cell against the war and against the lack of freedoms that he felt for his fellow countrymen. That's why he returned to Russia after he was poisoned. Talk about brave. This country has tried to kill me, fine, I'll go live there. He died for his ideals. The EU holds the Russian regime for sole responsible for this tragic death. Alexei had previously been convicted in 2013 of embezzlement on what he called a politically motivated prosecution and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. But the prosecutor's office later surprisingly demanded his release, pending appeal, and a higher court later gave him a suspended sentence. The day before, Alexei had registered as a candidate for Moscow mayor. The opposition saw his release as the result of large protests in the capital of his sentence, but many attributed it to a desire by authorities to try and give legitimacy to the mayor election. Alexei unsurprisingly finished second, but that is an impressive performance against the incumbent who had the backing of Putin. Alexei's popularity increased after the prominent politician Boris Nemtsov was shot and killed in 2015 on a bridge near the Kremlin. Whenever Putin spoke about Alexei, he made it a point to never mention the activist by name, referring to him as that person or similar wording, in an apparent effort to diminish his importance. And according to the Moscow Times, pro-Kremlin party orders lawmakers to ignore Alexei's death. The pro-Kremlin party United Russia has ordered lawmakers to avoid commenting on the death of Alexei, according to a news outlet, Agentstvo. Alexei's obituary has been released. Let me see if I can actually find it. Oh, it's not an official obituary, apologies. It's just something written in The Guardian. But this is important. He was the only legitimate opposition to Putin in Russia. I'm going to continue in another video. So this is only 10 minutes. Stay there.